do, I am formally introducing the first speaker. Her name is Meg Ford. She is with the Gnome Project, and she's going to be talking about how to get involved with FOSS projects with Gnome as an example. How to get involved with FOSS projects, Meg Ford.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm Meg Ford, and I co-organize the GNU Linux user group with Jim Campbell over there, and then I'm also a GNOME Foundation member. I am a computer science student and just a Chicago FOSS community member. So today I'm here to celebrate software freedom with all of you, and then I'm also here to give you guys some ideas about how to get involved in free software in Chicago. So there are a number of different avenues open to Chicagoans who want to get involved in free software. And I'm going to be talking about GNOME a little bit more than other ways, but also I'm going to talk about a few other things that you guys can do to get involved. So sometimes people think that in order to get involved in free software, you have to code. And one thing that I wanted to explain is that to get involved in free software, you can contribute in all kinds of areas. You can contribute documentation. User documentation is something that Jim does about how to use free software programs. You can contribute documentation about how to write code for free software. You can actually write code. You can contribute graphic design, and you can contribute translation. If you speak English as well as another language, you can translate free software into your language so that it's available to people in their native tongue. So let's go to our first slide. So GNOME has an initiative called Gnome Love. And Gnome Love is basically focused on allowing people to come into the community. We connect people with mentors who can help them to make their first contribution. And also, what else do we do? So basically, we have a wiki page where we have a list of different mentors for different things that we do in our community. So we have mentors for documentation, mentors for marketing, mentors for different software projects. So if you're interested in working on a text editor, then you can find a mentor for that project and learn to contribute code. We also have an IRC channel that you can go to in order to talk to people about learning to contribute to free software. And we also have a mailing list. So anyway, another way to get involved in free software is through Google Summer of Code. Now, Google Summer of Code actually funds students to work on open source projects, but a lot of the open source projects that you can work on are also free software projects. And basically the way that Google Summer of Code works is that students in spring put together a project proposal to work on code. It's only coding within an open source project. They make the proposal, and then the open source project provides a mentor to the student, and Google pays a $5,000 stipend, and you work on your project over the summer and learn to contribute to that software project. Another thing that we have, this started out as a GNOME project and now includes 16 different free and open source software projects. So this is the outreach program for women. The outreach program for women was basically started because we have such a low percentage of women contributing to free and open source software. It's between 1.5 and 3% women. And so what we were finding in the GNOME community was that we would get Google Summer of Code applications, and they would be 100% from male applicants, or what appeared to be male applicants. In response to that, the foundation, Marina Zorakinskaya from Red Hat, was asked by the Gnome Foundation to start the outreach program for women. The outreach program for women happens twice a year, in the spring and then, the summer, so that it goes through at the same time as Google Summer of Code. And then we also have a winter session. And that's also a $5,000 stipend. And besides contributing code, you can also contribute things like documentation and translation and other contributions in free and open source projects. And these are some of the projects that participated last time. We had Fedora, Tor, JBoss, Mozilla, a local project called Media Goblin, which Chris Weber runs. And anyways, there were 16 projects. And we had, I think, 37 interns this past round. And you can actually find out about this in the IRC channel, hashtag OPW and Gnome, in the Gnome server, or you can also just visit the website. Oops. Another way to get involved in free software is the group that Jim and I run. So we meet monthly at Pumping Station 1, which is the Chicago Hackerspace. And we have monthly talks, so usually we have 2 talks per month. And then we also have project time when people can do stuff like either come for help with their Linux desktop or installing GNU Linux on their desktop. And then also, if you want to get involved in writing code or contributing to GNOME, Jim and I both come and work on our projects. And there are people who bring various other projects to work on. So it's at Pumping Station 1. Which is the Hackerspace. I can give you the address afterwards. Yeah. So, and you can also, I think I have, do I have our website address on there? I'm not sure. Is it on there?
I mean, the Pumping Station 1, 3519 North.
Yeah, so this is where we meet, right here. So we meet monthly, and we have around like 5-hour meetings. So you don't have to come for the whole thing. You can come either for a couple of the talks, or you can come for the social and hacking time and afterwards too. Another resource for getting involved in open source is OpenHatch. OpenHatch actually has a website that you can visit, and you can sign up and list what you're interested in contributing to a free and open source software project. And OpenHatch will match your skills with a project that is looking for contributors with those skills. So OpenHatch is another way for people who are interested in getting involved in free software to get started. Right now, actually, OpenHatch, there's going to be an Open Source Comes to Campus event for women at UIC this coming week, actually, on Wednesday and Thursday in the evening. And they'll be teaching some basic things like basic Git, which is the version control system that a lot of free and open source software projects use. They're also going to be teaching, let's see, what else are they going to be teaching you guys? So the history and ethics of open source, how open source projects communicate, like how we communicate via mailing list on IRC and things like that. And then also they'll be walking people through writing their first patch, so making your first contribution to an open source project. And so this specific event is for women. It's possible, OpenHatch actually asked us if we would be interested in running a beginner Python workshop, maybe that would be open to people of all genders. So we might be doing more stuff with OpenHatch in the future. So, and that's all.
Yay.